They tell us the name Matthew Flinders with pride in every Australian classroom, the so-called brave navigator who discovered and mapped Australia. They make him out to be some heroic explorer, risking life and limb to chart a wild, untamed land. But the truth is far darker. And it's been buried under 2 centuries of lies. Flinders didn't discover anything. When he set sail around this landmass in the early 1800s, the maps already existed. The Aboriginal people knew the coastlines, the rivers, the mountain ranges. The Tartarians, the advanced builders who covered this land with incredible architecture, had mapped it long before the British Crown even dreamed of sending ships here. Flinders wasn't breaking new ground. He was following well-known routes, visiting cities and harbours that had stood for generations. The history books will tell you that Matthew Flinders was born in 1774 in Donington, Lincolnshire, that he joined the Royal Navy at the age of 15, inspired by the tales of Captain Cook. They'll tell you that in 1701, he set out on the HMS Investigator to chart the coastline of New Holland, and that he became the first person to circumnavigate the continent. They'll even point out that he was the one who popularised the name Australia. But they won't tell you what he actually saw. They leave out the grand stone harbours, the intricate road systems, the domed government buildings of unmistakably Tartarian design. They omit the advanced irrigation systems built by Aboriginal engineers, the flourishing gardens, the aqueducts carrying water across vast distances. They make it sound like a hostile wilderness, when in truth, it was already a thriving, mapped and built-up civilization. No, Flinders didn't tell the world about any of that. Instead, he served the English oppressors, the same crown that sent men to slaughter, enslave and erase entire cultures. He wrote down only what they wanted him to write. His reports to England were carefully constructed lies, painting this land as primitive and empty, a blank canvas for British civilization to improve. He gave them exactly the narrative they needed to justify invasion, colonization, and genocide. Textbooks praise his meticulous maps, but those maps were stolen knowledge, carefully copied from Aboriginal and Tartarian sources, stripped of any sign of who truly created them, and those maps became the blueprint for destruction. The English military and colonial governors now knew exactly where to strike. They knew which ports to seize first, where the richest lands were, and where Aboriginal resistance might be strongest. One by one, the Tartarian cities were attacked. Their great stone halls were dismantled. Their intricate brickwork was smashed to rubble. Temples, bridges, and cathedrals erased from history. The grand architecture still scattered across Australian towns today is just the scraps they couldn't destroy or disguise. And while they tore down the physical evidence, they rewrote the story. Instead of hearing about the thriving civilizations that were here, we're told it was all wilderness until the English arrived. Flinders wasn't some noble adventurer. He was a spy, an informant, a traitor to truth and history. He sailed into this land not to explore, but to catalogue what would soon be stolen. He recorded every strategic harbour, every water source, every fertile plain, not for science, but for conquest. His maps didn't open up Australia to the world. They opened it to slaughter. And here's the most sinister part. His legacy is still protected. They've put his name on statues, towns, schools, even a federal electorate. They've made him a national hero, so you'll never think to question him. But if you read between the lines of his own journals, you can still see the cracks. Small hints of the grand things he saw, described in vague terms, downplayed, made to sound insignificant. Those fragments are the breadcrumbs that prove he knew exactly what was here. They'll tell you he was later imprisoned by the French on Mauritius, a victim of bad luck and wartime politics. But they won't admit that in that time, his stolen maps and knowledge were already in the hands of the British, already being used to plan the dismantling of this land's true history. Matthew Flinders wasn't out there discovering Australia. He was erasing it. Every lie he told helped bury the truth of the Aboriginal nations and the Tartarian Empire that existed here, long before his sails touched the horizon. His voyage was not the beginning of Australia's story. It was the end of an age of freedom, beauty, and advanced knowledge. And now, more than 200 years later, we're still living in the ruins of what they destroyed. The streets we walk, the old stone post offices, the strange grand buildings in small towns. They're the ghosts of a civilization they want you to forget ever existed. Matthew Flinders didn't map Australia. He mapped the destruction of a world. And until we tear down their lies, his story will keep being taught in classrooms, while the truth of this land stays buried under the rubble of Tartaria.